I love me some Castle Crashers, and can you blame me? It's one of the greatest arcade games of all time, and definitely one of my all-time favorites. What I love most about Castle Crashers is the awesome characters you see and fight in the game, and this obviously translates into the boss fights as well. There are exactly 21 boss fights in Castle Crashers, all of them having the charisma to express their character and what they're all about without saying a single word, except for a select few, obviously. Since I'm in a Castle Crashery mood and I finally have my capture card, I'm gonna make my very first video with it. My top 21 boss fights in Castle Crashers. This was going to be a top 10, but since I'm just really excited about this and I have something to say about every boss in the game, and since it's my first video with a capture card, I feel like I want to make it special, so I'm going to make this one a big one. And we're going to rank every single boss fight from number 21 to number 1. But remember, this is just my personal opinion. If there's a boss fight that you really like that's really low on the list, I'm sorry if it upsets you. I didn't mean to ruin your day, anything like that. These are just my opinions, so don't take them to heart. But either way, let's get this video started. My personal top 21 boss fights in Castle Crashers. The Small UFO is my least favorite boss fight in Castle Crashers. It is really weak, as I'm pretty sure it has lower HP than the enemies you fight earlier in the mission. What I hate most about this boss though is that it's such a minor inconvenience on the entire level. I mean, fighting the guys earlier in the level, the little beetle guys and the royal guards, are harder to beat than the Small UFO. And I know the aliens are like, their whole thing is that they have really low health, but they have gadgets, but they get their ass kicked either way. At least I think that's their thing. It's still just, it's kind of dumb for a boss battle, you know. It's kind of a shame that I even had to put this on the list, but on Wikipedia it does clarify it as a boss because it does have a health bar, so I have to count as a boss. But yeah, that's really why it's on 21. But anyway, let's get to the actual fight itself. Since it's moving around in the air, it can be really annoying to hit. You don't have to hit it that much, but it's just hard to hit it because it's moving around in the air, and I am really bad at hitting things when they're moving around. You'll get to learn that throughout the video. If you do manage to get a combo going with it, it will just fly away to pick up a rock to try and squish you with it. And since it won't squish you with it unless you're standing still, you have to stop what you're doing, stand still, wait for it to drop, and then move the last second so you can start hitting him again. It's just such a dumb boss fight. I don't like it. I know it wasn't supposed to be like this huge thing. It was just supposed to be like, oh shit, aliens, and then you fight them and then you win. But it does technically count as a boss fight, so I have to put it on the list, which means it is my all-time least favorite. So there you guys go. My least favorite boss fight in Castle Crashers is the Small UFO, but that's only 21. We got 20 more to go, so let's jump right into number 20. Moving into number 20, we have the fucking Troll Mother. Definitely one of the weirdest bosses in the game, and that's saying something. What the Troll Mother is all about is not attacking you throughout the entire fight. Instead, shooting out little troll minions to do the dirty work for her. I will admit, this fight did give me some trouble throughout the years I played the game. Mainly because I don't really have that much strength at that point of the game. I'm usually focused on defense at the beginning part, so I end up not being able to hurt her that much, and she just keeps shooting out little trolls, and it just gets overwhelming. And yeah, I will admit, I've died a couple times on this boss. But the problem with this boss is similar to the UFO, is that it just doesn't feel that big of a boss. I mean, I know not every boss is supposed to be like this huge mind-tickling experience or anything like that, but when the boss comes back in a later mission but doesn't even have a health bar, you know it's a pretty crappy boss. Either way, the Troll Mother is a very simple and hectic boss fight that is actually a really good way to farm experience that I've learned. So I guess it's good for some things. It is weird, and I kind of like it for that. And it did confuse me when I first saw it. And really, that's all I have to say for the Troll Mother. That's it. Move on. Number 19. Coming in is probably the most boring boss in the entire game. The Volcano boss. Similar to the UFO boss, the Volcano is just a very inconvenient threat to deal with. In my opinion, the hardest level in the entire game. I don't hate the Volcano for being hard, he's actually the opposite. It's just the way you beat him is just annoying to me, and I'll get to that in a second. You can't hurt him with normal attacks or magic. What you have to do is get beefed up on a sandwich in order to start dealing damage on him. What I hate most about this boss is that it doesn't matter what level you are at the time, he'll do the same amount of damage because the damage is fixed. What also irks me with this fight is that if you mess up once, it adds like another 20 to 30 seconds to the fight. Because when you're fighting the boss and you pull out a sandwich and you start hitting him and you start building up the combos, because if you do it good enough, you can kill him in just 2 sandwiches, which is fine. But what always happens is that you go to hit him and then you get hit by either a fireball from one of the fire demons, or you get hit by one of his volcano things, it flies it back, and you're down for like 2 seconds, and that gives him just enough health so that you have to do it in 3 sandwiches. Because every time I fight this guy, you fight it, you do 1 sandwich, and you do like over half, and then the second sandwich, you're doing it, and then you get hit by a fireball, you fall down, and then he survives on just a little bit of health. But even though I maxed my character out on strength at that point, it doesn't matter, because the damage is fixed, so you gotta eat the sandwich either way. Even though I should do more damage because I focus on strength. It bothers me. I understand why they did it. It was for like characters who focus on magic, don't have to fight this guy forever. I understand that, but it's just it annoys me. Every time with the 3 sandwiches, it only needs 2, but you always have to do 3. And if you're really unlucky, you gotta do 4, because sometimes you'll be knocked down more than once. Sorry, that was my little rant on the Volcano boss there. I would put this fight at number 21, but I actually get more of a reaction from this fight than I do with the UFO or the Troll Mother. Because the UFO I didn't even know counted as a boss battle, and the Troll Mother was such a lame boss that it just turned into a normal fucking enemy in one of the later missions. So I feel like the Volcano deserves to be higher than those 2. Plus, the reason he's higher is I like his design. I mean, a volcano with a face is always a good design in my book. And really, that's the only good thing about this boss. Let's head into number 18. Coming in at number 18 is probably going to be my most controversial pick for such a low spot on the list, but I don't care. This is my list, and I hate this guy. Coming in at number 18, we have the Dragon from Volcano World. Now, unlike the last 3 entries, who I dislike for being inconvenient, boring, or really easy, this spot is the opposite of all those things. The Dragon is far from an easy boss to fight, and if this were a list of the hardest boss fights, he would be high on the list for sure. But the reason why he's hard is because the nonsense you need to do to actually hurt him. The way you hurt him is by building up a juggling combo in order to start attacking his stupid gigantic chin. What irritates me about this is that he's right there. All you just gotta jump up and hit him, but you can't do it unless he lets in a guy. But what happens is that he lets in a guy, and as soon as you're allowed to start doing the combo, he starts shooting fire at you. He won't even let you do the combo, and there's no avoiding it. You gotta run all the way back. And then at the same time this is happening, the rock is dropping down, and if you avoid the rock, that's good, but then it hits the fucking fire demon, and that usually kills him, so you can't do anything against this boss. What the game wanted you to do was to use the sandwich, because that's what you use to kill the Volcano. But the thing is, when you use the sandwich and start fighting him and beating on him, once he uses his fire thing, he'll launch you out and you'll land. It does a lot of damage, first of all, and then your sandwich just runs out because you only got 10 seconds of the sandwich. So that's completely useless unless you want to spend all your money on sandwiches, which I doubt you want to do. You probably just want to do it the easy way. And yes, I know that there is a way. If you stand on a certain spot on the ramp, you can fire your arrows or your bee magic at him, your projectile magic, but it doesn't do as much damage, obviously. It's just, basically, this sums up this fight. You be put into an arena. Sorry, I'm running out of breath. Ranting is a lot of energy for me. They put you in an arena, they give you a dragon, and it's like, go fight that dragon. You're like, okay. But they're like, oh, but you're only allowed to fight him with your left hand. And you're only allowed to walk on your knees. And you're blindfolded. That's basically how I see this boss fight. And it's irritating to me. I don't like it. I don't like it. Plus, like I said before, it is a hard boss fight. And the fact that this is at the end of, in my opinion, the hardest level of the game, the fucking Volcano World. Oh, I hate Volcano World. Don't get me started on Volcano World. Is that when you die to this boss, which you most likely will because you will use up all your potions to get to this boss, once you die, you gotta do Volcano World all over again. One of the longest missions in the game, hardest missions in the game. You gotta do it all over again. Oh, and trust me, you'll most likely die on this boss. The fire is insanely hard to dodge unless you see it coming, obviously. The rocks are pretty easy to dodge, but if they do hit you, they can hit you twice, which does like pretty much half your health, which could kill you in most cases. Which is just, it's not a good time. Really, the reason this boss is so low is because of the rage and fury he caused me throughout all my years playing Castle Crashers. So, Dragon, screw you, you're gonna stick at number 18. Wow, that was a rant. At least you finally get to see what happens to the dragon at a later boss fight in the game, which we'll talk about later, but yeah, it's pretty satisfying. Now we have one of the more unique major boss fights in the game, the Industrial Machine. But sadly, just because you're special does not mean you're necessarily better. I like the attention they had when making this boss fight. The king guy isn't a beefy knight like you, so he can't battle you head to head. So what he does is make a machine to battle you and uses his brains, which makes him different from all the other characters in the game, all the other bosses that you fight head to head. This guy doesn't do that, and I like it. It makes him stand out. And plus, another thing I like about this guy is just the voices that he makes. He reminds me of Waluigi. I don't know why. His and so on. I like the boss's personality. That's what I'm trying to say. But sadly, that is where the pros end for this boss, because this boss is an annoying fight. The reason I hate this boss is simply because he's just frustrating, is the problem. He has 3 stages to his fight. One is his little weird electrical pillar things that will shock the ground, and you gotta break them before they shoot lightning at you. Then he's got his weird fingers that walk all over you, and then he's got his gun. And I'll talk about the lightning rod floor things first. I don't know what to call them. They're just weird machine parts, and you just gotta blow them up. They shoot electricity at you. Most of the time they're easy because they'll give you just enough time to break it, depending on your strength or your magic, because you can use either one. It hurts them equally. But what makes this annoying is that when you're trying to break the last 3, that's when the hand comes in, and the hand will annoy you and kick you down when you're trying to break the stupid thing, and then you start using magic, and that helps out a lot. Magic does help out a lot for this boss, because if you have to do melee, then you're just going to get thrown by the hand, and it's no fun. It's just so frustrating fighting this boss. Basically, if you don't have any range attacks, which most people do have range attacks, but when I play Castle Crashers, I like mixing it up, so I'll make a character who's like just bulky and hits hard. That's his thing, but he doesn't have any range attacks, so he's kind of useless against... Basically, I've had a lot of bad experiences with this boss. I just want you to know that. But the worst part about this boss is his stupid gun that's constantly moving, and it's so hard to line up and get some good hits on him, because when he's moving, you can't get combos because he's moving. He moves out of your combo grip sights, and your combo ends. So when he stops, though, he's firing his flamethrower poison ice gun, and you can't get combos there either because you're getting hit by the gun. So it's so annoying to hit, and you can't get too close because then the fire burns you. Oh, I hate this boss. I love the boss himself, but I hate his fight, and that's why he's low on this list. And really, he's the last boss that I really have problems with on this entire list, because everyone after this I like for the large extent. For the most extent, I like them. Not this guy, though. Sadly, his fight is just too annoying for me to put him any higher. I'm sorry. He's funny, but his fight's just too horrible. Either way, let's move into number 16. Though this is one of, if not the easiest boss in the game, it does have a pretty kick-ass name. The War Machine. Some of you may think that this boss may be a bit high on the list, but I don't care. I love this boss for just weird reasons. Mainly due to the fact that this is a very nostalgic boss fight for me, as me and my cousin played the demo version of this game a long time ago, back when we didn't have the full game. We just played the demo version over and over again. So we fought this boss, we killed this boss like, I want to say over 100 times, because we fucking love this game. And once we finally got the full game, we'll talk about that later though when we get to the Barbarian boss. But the War Machine is just a nostalgic fight for me. It's a very cool boss based on some really interesting historical facts and real life weapons that they use to siege towers, so that was cool. It's also slightly based on the Trojan horse, so that's another cool thing. It's a nostalgic boss battle. And I know I don't really like putting things high on lists just because they're nostalgic, but this one has a special place in my heart. Plus, it is really fun to go back and fight this boss when you're level like 50 and kill him in 3 seconds. It's fun. What can I say? I enjoy it. Moving on to number 15. This is another boss that some may feel is a bit too high on the list, but again, this is my list, so I don't care what you feel. I'm, of course, talking about the bear boss. This boss is just a fun boss to face, simple as that. He introduces the player to a new form of magic, the tornado spin thingy, I don't really know what it's called, which will throw rookie players off guard when first fighting him. And I will admit that this guy has killed me a couple times because this mission is a huge difficulty leap from Thieves' Forest, so it does catch you off guard. He also introduced me to one of my favorite pets in the game, Rammy, who will also knock your ass down to interrupt your combos on the boss. He's a tricky boss to fight that starts off with him just randomly dancing and then fighting you. I mean, that's just awesome. I mean, I don't care how you feel about this boss if you think he's a nothing boss. You just walk in, he's just sitting there dancing in the rain. I mean, I think he even started that rain. I think he just did a rain dance. Maybe that's what he did. Did he just do a rain dance? That never hit me until now. I think he just did a rain dance. And if you don't think that's cool, you need to get your facts straight, boy. So yeah, this boss, I don't really have anything else to say about him other than I love how he just dances and fights you. I love his magic he uses. I love the fact that he introduced me to Rammy, and I will always thank him for that. Thank you, random bear boss that has no name. If there is one complaint about this boss, is that he does seem like kind of a random guy. He's just like, as far as you know, he's just a guy who has a pet ram and who stuck a flag to his back. I think what would have made this boss better if you maybe made him a bit bigger than the other guys, and maybe if you gave him a unique sword. That would be cool. Give him a different sword, and that would instantly make him a lot more interesting. Just something, because right now he just seems like a random bear you fight. But either way, that's my number 15 boss. Let's move into number 14, who was on the same mission as that guy. Now, unlike the bear boss who we just talked about, there is no doubt who is definitely the king of the bats in this game. Coming in at number 14, we have Pipestrello. Now, I do apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm just too lazy to look up how to pronounce it, so I'm just going to say it how it looks. Pipestrello, 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 Pipestrello. Anyway, this is another weird boss in the game, which is pretty common in this game when I think about it. Mainly due to the fact that his main attacks are licking you and pooping on you, which he will do in whatever damn order he pleases. What makes this boss challenging is his little bat friends that come out of the cave to bite you and hold you still while Pipestrello poops on you, which sadly that is actually a defective strategy. Congrats to you, Pipestrello. I would never think of making my friends hold my enemies down so I can poop on them. I would never think that does so much damage, but it does. And I will also admit that this boss has killed me a couple times before, mainly due to the fact that I always underestimate him. I always think he's going to be easy, and then he poops on me one too many times, and I'm too ignorant to use my potions, and I die on this guy, I'll admit. He is a funny boss, and he does have a funny design, and he does make me smile every time I fight him. And there really isn't much to say about him other than that. Oh wait, other than the fact that he actually turns into a pet to accompany you on your journey, so that's pretty cool. And he introduced me to my second pet, which, in hindsight, I do like Rammy more, but Batty does have a pretty sick design. Okay, well, it's not sick, but whatever. He's a bat. I like bats, alright? I like bats. Moving on to number 13, the VolleyBall Match. Some may say that this doesn't count as a boss battle as there is no health bar, and it's not really a battle, but it is at the end of the level, and it is an obstacle in your way stopping you from proceeding. So, I think this counts as a boss battle. Plus, I actually died more times than I can count on this volleyball match. And you may think You died on this? It's a volleyball match. How could you die? I'll explain right now. First of all, the waves of enemy that you have to go through to finally get to this volleyball match is actually pretty challenging, as most of them have magic. They will be throwing bombs and arrows at you, and I will admit I do get hurt a lot in this mission. You do have to use potions, but what happens is once I finally get to the volleyball match, I'll have like a quarter of my health left, and I'll just think, oh, it's a volleyball match, I don't need to heal up. But then I'll get too close to the line, and the big dude will always just punch me like 3 times, and I'll die. This literally has happened way too many times. That big bastard will always kill me, and I would always have to restart, and I would never think that I would die on the volleyball match, but trust me, I die a lot, and it's really shameful, but it's true. And honestly, that's why I put it high on the list, because it's a funny boss battle, and it really just represents everything Castle Crashers is about. It's a unique beat 'em up style game that really no one can ever duplicate. No one can, well, I'm sure they can duplicate it, but they're not going to do it nearly as good as Castle Crashers. Sorry, I was getting really spitty there. But other than the fact that this boss always manages to kill me, it's also kind of irritating to fight too. Because similar to the fighting the gun part of the industrial machine, it's really hard for me to line up my strikes with like objects in that game. I'm really bad at it, and like you cannot mess up when you're in the volleyball match, because if you mess up 10 times you gotta restart. It's honestly not that big of a deal because you just do it again, but still it's hard for me. Alright, I'm so bad at the volleyball part, and I hate whenever I have to go through that part of the game when I'm trying to speed run. Despite of all the ways this fight pisses me off, I still enjoy it just because it just represents everything Castle Crashers is about. The beginning of the level is really challenging, and it's fun because Castle Crashers is fun throughout the entire game. But that first part of the level is pretty challenging, and when you get to the final end, you're suspecting this crazy boss, but you get a volleyball match. And I will remember the first time I saw that, I laughed. I laughed like a little kid because I was one. And when I lost to those assholes over and over again, and then when they actually killed me, I was shocked. I was like, what? This is one of the hardest boss fights I've ever had. And I think that's why I put it up so high, because it's, again, kind of a nostalgic feel to it, but also because it's funny. It represents Castle Crashers so well. If I could sum up Castle Crashers in one mission, it would be this one. And it's great. I love this. It's awesome. I love it. All right, I love it. What can I say? Moving on to number 12. Now we're getting to the big dogs of the countdown, starting with probably the most infamous boss in the Castle Crashers community, the Corn Boss. This boss is a pain to fight. He has stupid amounts of HP. That makes him annoying to kill whether you're level 20, 30, 40, you name it, he's going to be challenging to kill. And this asshole will eat up your attacks. Not only that, he will constantly dig into the ground to avoid your attacks, meaning that you only have a small window of opportunity to actually hurt this prick. Although he may be a tank in the game, he's not necessarily a heavy hitter. Most of his attacks do very little damage, and whenever you get hit by him, you can always hit him back and get some popcorn to heal up your health. So your health will stay pretty full for the most part. He doesn't hurt you. He's not meant to be a hard boss, he's just meant to be a very time-consuming one. It is absolutely dreadful when you have to go up against him when you're trying to speedrun the game, or just absolutely dreadful in general because no one likes fighting this guy. He may be a pain in the ass, but he is a legend in the community. And he does have a very funny gimmick, being a corn that went wild and is now terrorizing the farmers. Plus his whole design is pretty funny too. But really the most pleasure I get from this fight is when he finally dies. I hope this crazy corn cob freak never comes back in the next Castle Crashers game, which I doubt they will make, but maybe they will, I don't know. We'll talk about it in another video. But Corn Boss, you're gonna stick at number 12. I hate you. It's a love-hate relationship, really. I love you because you're a legend, and I respect my legends, but I hate you because you wasted so much of my goddamn time. Moving in to number 11. Medusa is that boss in the game that forces the use of all of my potions, as it is really hard to avoid her attacks. What she comes packing in her arsenal is a snake that is good for close range that will strike you when you're trying to melee her. It is really meant for stopping your combos and just making her a bigger pain in the ass to kill. She has another snake that will shoot projectile vomit at you. Or I think it's probably just venom. It's probably venom. Either way, it will shoot venom at you to stop those using ranged attacks, and also to give you more things to dodge later in the fight, because she will also be shooting down little snakes at you. If they touch you, they will do some good amount of damage while also knocking you down and disrupting your combos and other stuff like that. But they do only have 1 health, so they are pretty easy to deal with. Just if you get caught off guard, they can overwhelm you. And to top it all off in her arsenal, she has her stare that will freeze you into a heart-shaped stone that will allow you to get hit by more attacks. And no one likes getting hit by more attacks, because most of her attacks do a lot of damage. And to add to that, she's constantly moving around, making it hard to land some good combos on her. Plus, her snakes are constantly attacking you, which would mean you're not really going to get any combos on her, which means this is going to be a tough fight. And to add to that, she also has one of the highest health bars in the entire game out of all the bosses. I think the only one that has a higher health bar than her is like the Frost King, which we will get to later. This is a very challenging boss, as it demands your complete focus when fighting her, because she will be throwing all of her attacks at you, and if you let your guard down a little bit, you're going to get hit by at least one of them. I suggest you save up your potions for this fight, because it's a tough one. That may just be me, but I always have troubles with this fight. Either way, Medusa, I dislike you, but I do enjoy your fight, so I'm going to put you high on this list. And it is pretty satisfying to see her freeze herself, and you do get a pretty kick-ass sword at the end of it, so that's pretty cool. What is up, guys? It's Max7 here, just to let you guys know that this is going to be the end of part 1 of the top 21 boss battles in Castle Crashers. Part 2 will be coming out shortly. I decided to make this a 2-parter simply because I didn't want the video to be 50 minutes long, and it's just easier to edit that way. And yeah, so part 2 will be coming out shortly. I'll see you guys then. I do realize that some bits of this video has been better than others, but just know that this is the first big project I've ever really taken on. So forgive me if I'm a bit rubbish at the commentary. I promise I'll get better one day. But yeah, I just thought I should let you guys know. I hope you guys liked it. Leave a like if you did, obviously. Subscribe for more. Comment, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in part 2. And of course, make sure you stay relevant.